Okay, hello everybody. It's me again, Hayley from Equine Evolutions. I'm just here to do another video, just to try and discuss, put out there some really important information that I think all equestrians should know and be aware of. Okay, I know last week I talked about the horse being behind the vertical and the negative impact that has on the horse's body. And today I just thought we'd kind of start from the beginning, I suppose. So, the horse's body in general, and looking at what we can do as owners, riders, grooms, whatever, to help the horse to be strong and obviously prevent as much injury and lameness as possible. So first things first, okay, the horse, it is not designed to carry people. Okay, I know they look big and they look like a really nice, strong, capable creature, but they're not really designed to carry a massive amount of weight. The thoracic portion of their spine, which is obviously the part that we sit on, is, compared to the rest of the vertebrae, is quite vulnerable. It's obviously prone to various issues, and I'm not talking about just sort of saddle fit and all that other important stuff. The most important thing is that the horse's body is conditioned and strengthened sufficiently to allow them to comfortably carry a rider and do whatever job it is you want them to do. Okay. I think a lot of trainers, a lot of people that start horses probably don't put enough care and attention into that area. The horses' bodies aren't always conditioned sufficiently, in my opinion. Okay, anyone wants to come back at me and say actually they are, or this, that, or the other, by all means do, and we can have a chat about it. That's fine. But in my opinion, I don't think that many people that train, start, or own, ride horses pay enough attention to that, to that fact that the horse isn't designed to carry us at all. And it's our job to make sure that they are strong and they are injury free, and that we do everything that we can possible to prevent injuries, lameness, and other issues that the horses suffer, because we rush them, and we don't ensure that they are sufficiently conditioned and strong to do whatever job it is that we're asking them. So leading on from that, a lot of people think that a horse working in an outline, and having that nice frame, that collection, and all that sort of stuff is just for dressage horses. Okay, well that's not true whatsoever. Obviously the scales of training that a lot of dressage riders will progress through, obviously allow them to take their horse from the prelim all the way up to Prix St George, and they follow that scale of training because it is absolutely vital for that process, for the horse to be able to go from being a prelim horse all the way to Prix St George. It has to go through so much training, but if you're not training for Prix St George, then why would you want your horse to be in an outline working on the bit and engaged and all of that stuff? Well, the fact of the matter is that if the horse is not working in that manner, then they are essentially, for the purpose of being ridden, in biomechanic failure. Okay, there's been so much research, so many studies that now I think more people are now really starting to understand the effect of carrying a rider has on the horse's body, not just the spine, the thoracic vertebrae, but everywhere. Okay, and I think we must start really focusing and thinking about those things for the welfare of the horse, because they're the most important thing in all of this. You know, they don't ask to be ridden, to be jumped and all that sort of stuff. They do so willingly because of the type of animal that they are. They are a nice, peaceful, very cooperative creature in comparison to other, animals out there. And I think, if I'm going to be honest, I think we kind of exploit that a little bit. We take advantage of their gentleness, of their willingness, and we almost exploit and abuse to a certain extent. And we need to start basically, having a word with ourselves and sorting that out. So those scales of training that I was talking about, obviously the first one being rhythm. Your horse has got to be, walking, trotting, cantering in a good rhythm before you can progress further up that scale and start thinking about the suppleness, which is the second on the scale. So suppleness is obviously really important, because if the horse isn't supple, then they're obviously not going to be in any sort of rhythm. They're going to be tight, they're going to be tense, they're going to be not using their bodies in that way that will build muscle and prevent injury. The next on the scale is contact. Obviously that contact needs to be nice and elastic. The horse needs to be taking that contact forward and down a little bit in order to be working through his back. So the horse, if they're not in any sort of rhythm, then they're not going to be supple, and if they're not supple, they're not going to be working into a contact. Okay, and that brings me on to the next in the scale, which is impulsion, which is, impulsion is, it's not the speed of anything, it's the energy. It's that forward energy that comes through. So if the horse isn't in any sort of rhythm, isn't supple, isn't working into the contact, then it's not going to really have any impulsion going forwards. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing a dressage test or if you're doing a course of 90 centimetre show jumps, or if you're hacking 3 or 4 times a week, that scale of training should still be implemented. Okay, so number 5 on the scale is straightness. There's 6 on the scale for those that don't know. Is straightness, which is one of the fundamental things that a lot of horses lack. Okay, you see all the time, the horse is kind of maybe bent the wrong way, or they're working on 3 tracks maybe, and they're just not straight. They're not straight in their bodies. Show jumping is one of those disciplines where it's, a lot of the time it is really apparent, because you'll have horses going round a course of jumps that are kind of bent to the outside, and their head's up here and they're bent round, and they're not straight. Okay, not straight in their bodies. And then on the last bit of the scale, which is obviously when we are thinking about the dressage and the Prix St George type, that is collection. So that scale of training goes up as it does. You can't have one without first getting the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 before that. Does that make sense? So, and unless a horse is in rhythm, it can't be supple. And if it's not supple, it can't be working into the contact. And if it's not working into the contact, then it cannot have forward impulsion. If it has none of those prior things, then the horses cannot and will not be straight in their bodies. And obviously if they're not straight in their bodies and they haven't got impulsion and they haven't got that suppleness into the contact, then there's no way that they can be able to work in any sort of collection. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you ask of your horse. I think those scales of training are absolutely vital to build up your horse properly and sufficiently for it to do whatever job it is you want it to do. Okay, it doesn't matter that you're not going to to dressage shows every weekend. Every horse should, if they are having somebody on their back, should be strong and conditioned sufficiently through using this scale of training in order to happily carry a person doing whatever job. Okay, and there's probably going to be a lot of you that might disagree with that, but that is my opinion, and it will take a lot to change that, I'm afraid. So I'm just putting it out there that if you want your horses to be strong, fit and injury free, then you need to maybe focus a little bit more on how capable they are of carrying a person. Okay, let me just have a sip of tea. What happens if that scale of training isn't followed and horses aren't allowed to build up the sufficient strength in their bodies? Well, they will be quite uncomfortable, I should imagine. Things might hurt, things might be a little bit tight, and certainly the horse will be displaying what is classed a lot of the time as bad behavior. Horses don't choose to be naughty. I know it's that's going to be another video, but just briefly, horses do not have the capacity in their brains to be malicious or to decide that they can't be bothered one day and they just whatever human kind of explanations we tend to put on things. Okay, they do not have the ability to be malicious or doing things on purpose. They react to stimuli, and I have done posts about this before. And I think it can be very difficult for us because of the brains that we have to kind of accept and to really understand what other animals think and why they do the things they do. But we definitely need to think about our responses to whatever it is the horses are doing. Okay, they're not cheeky, they're not sassy, they're not awkward. They respond to stimuli, and that stimuli can be anything, but generally if behaviors are negative, like maybe rearing, bucking, spinning, spooking, napping, throwing its head around, all those sorts of things, they are generally done because the horse is not comfortable. The horse might be in pain. The horse is doesn't understand what you're asking it to do. So there's three main reasons why horses would be bad or naughty, and that is through pain, through fear, or confusion. Okay, so if your horse is displaying any of these signs, if they're not straight, if they go to the outside, if they fall in, if they do this or that, then they are not working evenly through their bodies, and you need to do something to change that. Okay, that's not, obviously horses aren't built, they aren't born, going round on the wrong bend. That's something that is created by us, and if it isn't rectified, then it will just end up causing more issues for that horse. So anything that your horse does that we don't necessarily want it to do is, like I said, either through pain, through fear, or through confusion. Okay, and it's obviously our job as riders, as owners, as grooms, whatever it is you do, to recognise that something might not be right. Okay, remember, horses don't choose this life, and they don't choose to be awkward or naughty or quirky, or whatever. They are that as a result of whatever human interaction they've had, what they've learned through responses, and it's something that really does need changing within the horse industry. Obviously there are many professionals that could help you. If you don't know what to do, reach out. Certainly I can help with the area that I cover. Obviously doing things online, it can be quite tricky, but I'm here for basic questions, and I can't stress enough how important it is that we start to change the way we think about our horses' behaviour, and about whether they are strong and capable to do what it is that we're asking, because they're not born to be strong and capable of carrying us. We have to ensure that they are, and that is obviously a process through training. And it's I could just talk for ages about this, and I don't want to just waffle on for forever, but hit me up with questions, give me your opinions. If if you want to, I don't mind. We can have a chat about it. Let's be open to learning. I'm so open to learning. Like 5-6 years ago, I was one of those riders that was like, whatever it is I wanted to do, the horse had to do it. Whether it was going over some poles or going over a jump or whatever, and I was very much just get on with it, just do it. What are you being such a dick for? And it's only the last 4 years that I've been on this super massive learning curve, and I've actually been quite.
Here's what I found.
Sorry, I don't know why Siri's interrupting me. But the last 4 or 5 years, I've just been on this learning curve, and the things that I've learned has blown my mind a lot of the time, and I do actually, I feel quite ashamed at the sort of rider I was, but that's what you get taught, isn't it? And it's that's what needs to change from grassroots up. It needs to change. There's just none of this, I'm wanting you to do this, so you're going to do it. I think we need to be a little bit more mindful about what we're doing with our animals, and making sure that they're happy and healthy. And there are a lot of horses out there that aren't, and that is something that really does need to change. And I hope that I can be part of some sort of some sort of movement for progress for this change, because you know, I've changed so much myself as, you know, as a equestrian. You know, I'm a massage therapist, so I'm I'm very mindful of, you know, the horse's body in general, but looking at, you know, from starting a horse through its life, um, you know, what is happening, how many people actually really consider their horse in a lot of situations. I know it's probably not as many as they should, and like I say, I was one of those. Um, Generally, just, you know, get on with it. You know, I'm on top of you, and you're going to do whatever, without without that much. There was a little bit, but not that much thought of how the horse was feeling underneath me, which, you know, I am quite ashamed of, if I'm honest. But, you know, it's how we learn, isn't it? How we grow and how we change as humans. And I want to spread that message and help as many people as possible to, you know, to have that knowledge and that understanding. So yeah, I mean, message, comment, share, do whatever you want to do with these videos. I do hope that there's been something useful in the midst of all my waffling, that somebody, you know, will, excuse me, well, somebody will think, actually, she's got a point, or at least make you think something. That's the aim. This is just to think something, and make a change to something. That would be the end goal. So, to summarize, you know, horses need our help. They need our help to be strong, to be confident, to be conditioned, and be able to carry us. And they can't do that on their own because they don't know how. Okay, it's our job to do that. So that is the first thing. We need to make sure that they are physically capable of, you know, doing whatever it is that we want them to do. Scales of training are really important. Okay, if your horse is crooked, if your horse is not straight in its body, doesn't matter what you're doing. You're going out hacking, if you're jumping, if you're, you know, dressage, it doesn't matter. If your horse isn't straight, then it's not going to be working well into the contact. It's not going to be developing the right muscles that we want it to develop. It's not going to be supple, and it's not going to really have any sort of great rhythm, or the rhythm will be, you know, disrupted, or too rushed, or quick in its tempo. You know, so if you're gonna look at anything, seeing whether a horse is straight or not is probably one of your easiest things to gauge, you know, how well your horse is doing. Because if they're not straight, then they're not working their bodies correctly. They're not working their bodies evenly, and there is going to be some stress somewhere in the body, in the muscles, that is going to be stopping your horse from being supple and soft and in rhythm. So have a look, get someone to look, video yourself doing whatever, but just, you know, it's the easiest thing to see, because it's so far up on the scale of training. If you know, if you haven't got straightness, then you haven't got all of the 4 things that come before that. And it's really important that the horse is, sorry, I just had a low battery thing. It's really important that the horse is developed through that scale of training properly, with patience, with understanding, and with a variety of work. So like I said, like in hand work, long lining, lunging, anything that is going to get the horse. Pole work, in hand pole works perfect. Anything that's going to get your horse engaging the right muscles and working on that rhythm, that suppleness, working into the contact, and being straight. It's absolutely vital. Anything that your horse is doing that you don't necessarily like, which might be rushing, just very quickly, will be another video, because I'm quite conscious that I've been waffling on for 25 minutes already, and there's just so much to talk about. But if your horse is doing things that you don't necessarily like, like those rearing, bucking, spinning, all those stuff, falling in, falling out, then there's going to be something not quite right within your horse's body that will need addressing by by either a body worker, or if you wanted to, you could get the vet to come and have a look. Whatever you need to consider, what is causing that issue. Yeah, because it's not normal. It's not normal for a horse to be, bent the wrong way like a banana when you're trying to go around a course of jumps. Yeah, it's not normal. It's not normal for horses to buck. It's not normal for horses to rear and spin. It's not normal for horses to go around with their ears flat back and with glaring eyes and just generally looking not happy at all. But that's another video. So whatever your horse might be doing that you think is bad behaviour, it's not, okay? It's your horse is trying to communicate. Your horse is trying to tell you something's not right, and you need to listen, okay? I'm going to leave it there because I've been waffling forever, but I will be doing other videos about other topics. Message me, put in the comments if there's anything that you want me to go over again, or anything you want me to do a little video about, then please let me know, and I will do it, and let's learn and go forward, and do everything we can to help our horses be happy, healthy, strong in whatever job that they're doing. Okay, have a good Monday. Bye bye.